The priest, one of the main protagonists, the priestess, has one of the best damn beards. It's so full and luscious. I think I'm going to try and grow mine out and do that. And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for HBO Europe's original series called 30 Coins. An exiled priest tries to escape his demons while living in a remote village in Spain. That synopsis really doesn't do the story justice. There's 8 episodes. They're all about an hour long. Each episode feels very much like its own story, but all adheres to the main arc. And what I mean by that is that it's so full, there's so much going on in each episode that each episode feels like a feature. Even though it's an hour long, I think the first one, the pilot, is like an hour and 17 minutes long, so that definitely feels like a feature. But every episode feels like you're biting off a chunk of a big story, and it feels like almost 8 different movies, which I really appreciated. I also like the fact that the dialogue in this series isn't spoon feeding. There's a lot of dialogue where characters will say something, half say something, they get towards like the end of the sentence, and then the rest is left up to the viewer's imagination, and you can easily tell what's going on. So that it's not a hindrance. It's a very clever way of drawing the viewer into the story, which I really appreciated. It is subtitled, so unless you can speak the language, you're gonna have to read, and it might take you a little while to get used to it because they speak very quickly, so you're reading pretty quickly. But it took me about 20 minutes to get into it, understand how this story flows. It's very much soap in nature, so there's a lot of drama llama. But you appreciate it because for the most part you need to find out what's going on with the story, and it's all to do with the 30 coins, hence the title of the story. And for the best synopsis, you should watch the intro at least twice. I do love the intro. I don't normally, like when I'm doing a review, talk about the intro of a film or a TV series, but this one you kind of need to talk about. If you remember, or if you've seen series like Spartacus, the very slow-mo, grand, kind of blue screen introduction, their theme, lots of blood, and then you mix that with Westworld, and you mix that with a number of others, you get this kind of amalgamation of where it's telling the story of what happened to Judas, well, their version, so it's Bible-esque orientated. They've taken that story and kind of veered left or veered right or veered down to where they obviously want to embellish and create this wonderful entertainment story. And I think it is very entertaining. I will say though, I think it's meant to be a massive horror, and I wasn't ever scared. There were moments where I definitely leant back and went, that's really gross, because they do have a lot of gore. The prosthetics and the makeup in this work hard. There's a lot of gore, and it is gory, and there's a lot of times when I like wanted to do that, not because I was scared, but it's just like, it's just gross. And talking about the gross moments, there are some very interesting creature creations in this, which I really appreciated. It's very much Guillermo del Toro or Stranger Things, you know, the monster designs, they've put a lot of work into. And for the most part, they look real. There wasn't a lot of time where I looked at the monsters and thought that looks like CG. I think it was the latter episodes, about episode 5, where there was a moment where one is out and it was in the day rather than the night, so they couldn't hide any stuff. And there was a few moments I was like, yeah, that doesn't quite look right, but for the most part, it looks really good, and I love the design. It does give you like, oh, whoa, that's so gross, which I appreciated. It made it new. So for the most part, it reminded me, that's going to be my tagline, for the most part, it reminded me a little bit of Supernatural, actually. That you have these priests that need to stop what these bad priests are doing, and and they basically become sort of demon hunters. It all centers around this one town, which is like basically a hellmouth, the most unluckiest town. One of those series, you know, like 24, the most unluckiest guy. This town is the most unluckiest town. So we have a vet and a priest and a number of other people like the mayor that are drawn into this web of what is basically the showdown for the world, but centering on this town. Everybody is trying to collect these coins. Apparently they have some power behind them. All the holy relics from the Bible, Supernatural has that as well, where they have some godlike power. And here, these unholy relics are being sought after, these people, the Canaanites, I think that's what they call them, and so you have this big story of you have like good priest and unpriest, or bad priest, or in their eyes good priests. You'll have to watch the story to understand. It's very interesting, and the story does kind of give you updates on where it's going rather than spoon feeding you. You kind of have to figure out some of the stuff. It is definitely a mystery. There is also a cliffhanger. It's only episodes, so you're going to wonder where the story is going to go next. I do love the way each of the episodes is created, though. So there's this lots of, I guess you could say, padding, but it's more like this is what the story is going to be for this episode. And then the characters go through something, the characters find out that their town is not quite right, the characters experience something supernatural, and then by the time you get to the end of the episodes, for the most part, on almost all of the episodes, go mental. They have this heightened sense of, whoa, I didn't see that coming. The amount of times I was like, what's happening? Okay, wow. So I was really into the story that way, and that makes you wonder what they're going to do for the next episodes and how much, not bigger, but crazier. Like, what are you going to see next? I enjoyed the supernatural part of it. Like I said, if you're easily affected by supernatural stuff and you thought maybe this was going to be really horrific, it's not. It wasn't really scary. I don't think I'm just getting numb to it. I just think it's a thriller with lots of gore, interesting monster creations. There is a Ouija board episode, which I just thought, yep, don't mess with those. It is the unluckiest town. It isn't a perfect series though for me. There are just a couple of things that I didn't feel quite fitted. So the score is often very much over the top, and it heightens and crescendo before you get to the big moments, and you're like, okay, I guess something's happening now. And that happened almost every time, but it was almost too much. Like when they're running across the street to a church, you know something's going to happen in a church, but while they're running across, the music's like, and you're like, well, okay, just calm down there a bit. And then I have to say, the gunshots, they really sounded like a PS2 sound effect for a gunshot. Like they'd taken a package that wasn't quite expensive enough for sound effects. It just sounded like dull and flat, just not at all to the sound effects that we're used to having in films and TV now. It was weird. I don't know if it was to do with the blood packs that we're using, or just someone thought they needed a bit more. Maybe there's a law that says you can't have it to be too real. I know in places like I think it's Japan or China, where you can't have a monster look too real, so they've always got to make it quite look fake. There's different laws depending on where you are in the world. I don't know if that is the case, but I just found that one thing was consistent throughout the 8 episodes. When there were gunshots, they didn't sound right. That's a little thing. For the most part, I've really enjoyed this series. I think you should give it a go if you don't mind reading subtitles, if you're not offended by massive amounts of gore. I think I saw one sex scene, and even than that, they didn't show anything. So, you know, it's gory, it's scary, it's an interesting storyline. From someone that has a Christian background, I wasn't offended by it. I just knew that they were doing the similar thing to what they do in Supernatural. That kind of, they take Bible story moments and just go crazy with it. Yeah, good fun. So chat to me in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about it. Had you even heard about it? Are you interested in watching this? Thanks so much for watching me review this. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.